There's more to creating vector graphics than meets the eye. In this chapter, we'll cover drawing shapes, using auto shapes, selecting colors and swatches, and using patterns and filters within Fireworks. Let's get started. In this chapter, we're going to be creating vector graphics. Now, Fireworks is a vector program, which basically means that it's resolution independent, unless I'm going to save something as a JPEG or an actual pixel-based item, and then that becomes resolution dependent, just like Photoshop is a resolution dependent graphic image editing program. Let's get started making our graphics. So let's open a Fireworks document, just a brand new Fireworks document. We'll just leave it at its defaults. And over in my vector section in my toolbar, I'm going to grab my rectangle tool. And I'm going to draw a rectangle out onto my page. And I'll grab my selection tool from here. If I take a look at my property inspector, I see how I'm easily able to change the size and the dimensions of this particular piece of artwork. So I can change my X and my Y to anywhere that I actually need it on the page precisely. If I would like to resize this object, I can resize my width and my height, and I can even constrain my proportions using my property inspector. So if I would like to change this, for instance, to 400, and I have that linked at the moment, so now I've changed that size, and it's kept my proportions constrained. Now I've got my fill area here, just like over in my toolbar, and a stroke area over here as well. I can change my edge of this to either hard, anti-alias, kind of filling in the pictures, or I can quickly and easily change the feather of this particular object on my page. So now my rectangle now has a feather to it. I even have textures, and we'll talk about our textures in just a little bit. And if I choose a stroke color, then I have tons of options for my strokes. So I've got anything as interesting as alien paint, to toothpaste, to a paint splatter, to different charcoals and crayon effects for a stroke. I can quickly and easily change the size of that just with a little slider. So I can choose for that stroke to be aligned to the inside, to the center, or even to the outside. And I have an edge hardness for that as well. I can change my grain texture, and I have a roundness. So let me get rid of my stroke so we can actually see that. So on my roundness here, I'll just drag up my slider, and now I have a 30 radius roundness. Now at the moment it's solid, so let's take a look at our gradients. I click on where it says solid, and then I'm going to choose gradient. I've got linear gradients, I have waves, folds, satin, even a rectangle, radial, and a linear. So let's just start with linear. When I'm working with my gradient, Fireworks makes it really, really easy to work with. So I basically have a start point and an end point to my gradient. So where my solid colors start and stop at. If I grab my square here and I pull down, you'll notice that my gradient is quickly changing. So I've altered where that start and stop point is on that particular gradient. And as I move that around, you'll see where my stop point is. If I want this to be a different direction, I can easily just drag my start point and then change where my end point is. So now I have a horizontal gradient. Changing my gradient colors is very, very easy inside of Fireworks as well. All I have to do is click on my thumbnail here, and I've got my color stops. So if I click on my first color stop, I can change that color. And now I see that I've got a totally different gradient color selection. If I would like to add another color, I just click underneath my bar and I've added another color stop. Now we've added another color to our gradient. Let's say that we have a picture underneath this particular gradient, and I would like part of it to be transparent. So all I have to do is I have to click up here, and this is going to change my opacity on just that portion of my gradient. And you can see by my little transparency grid in here that that is now totally transparent on the far right-hand side of that particular gradient. If I change this quickly to a radial gradient, and let me get rid of my colors here. Let's go back to that. Get rid of that one. So now I've got my start point of my radial gradient, and all I have to do is change the position of where that starts and stops at. And it's really, really easy working with our gradients inside of Fireworks.